It was almost exactly 1 year to the day that I first met Ava. Irony doesn't even come close to describing just how odd of a coincidence that was. In a saner world, I might have celebrated the anniversary of our first encounter by doing something fun with Ava, such as taking her out on a romantic dinner cruise along the Hudson. In such a saner world, we might have reflected on how awesome of a year we had together, thinking back warmly on the many fun times of our relationship. Heck, I might have even chosen this particular day to propose to Ava, possibly popping the question to her in the same movie theater lobby where we first met a year earlier. That was how I might have spent the day, in a saner world. Of course, we don't live in a sane world, and nothing about the past year bore any semblance to sanity. Whereas in an alternate universe I might now be enjoying a romantic evening out with the mother of my child, I was instead fastening a bulletproof vest to my chest and stowing my AR-15 rifle into the trunk of my car in preparation for the fight of my life. I knew this could very well be my last night on Earth. My sense of what was about to happen was obvious from the start. This night was going to end with either me, Javanni, and quite possibly my baby daughter dead, or it would end with Nicole dead by my hands, or perhaps even worse, maybe all four of us would be swimming in a crimson pool come dawn. There was no way in hell Nicole was going to let either me or Javanni leave alive, so she must have been planning to kill us both in order to tie up loose ends. Someone was going to die tonight, that much was certain. The only question was who. In case that unfortunate victim turned out to be me, I took the proactive measure of leaving my dog Samantha in the care of a neighbor. That way she wouldn't die of neglect if I didn't make it back. I also left a written note on my kitchen counter detailing my whereabouts and the circumstances of my absence if cops ever came looking for me. Assuming there would even be a body to find. That was assuming Nicole didn't chop me up into a dozen pieces with her chainsaw, or feed me through a wood chipper. Now, you all might be asking yourselves why I just didn't go to the police. Why didn't I let the authorities handle it? A fair question that I shall do my best to answer. In a saner world, I wouldn't have been caught dead meeting up with my murderous cray ex out in the middle of nowhere. That's some Michael Myers level of stupidity you'd only ever see in the movies. Most people are smarter than that in real life. But what choice did I have, really? Nicole already made it crystal clear what she'd do if I went to the cops. To involve the police would be condemning my infant child and Javanni to a most grisly demise. I had to anticipate the fact that Nicole had prepared for this very possibility. For all I knew, she probably had cameras positioned far and wide to tip her off if I did bring the cops. If I had any small chance of saving Javanni and my daughter, I had no choice but to go alone. But I refused to go unarmed. If Nicole was indeed planning to kill me, which I strongly suspected that was her intent, I wasn't going to take her bullet lying down like some helpless wimp. I wasn't going to drop to my knees and beg for my life right up until the moment she pulled the trigger. F that. If I was going to die tonight, I swore in my mother's grave that I was going to take Nicole with me. For that, I ensured my Glock pistol was firmly secured to my hip. It was fully loaded and ready to go, with a hollow point round already chambered. Lastly, my Smith & Wesson AR-15 rifle occupied a black duffel bag in my trunk. Only after I was fully armed and mentally stoked did I bid farewell to my dog and set off into the night, unsure if I would ever see Samantha or daylight again. Traveling the nearly 200-mile journey to my destination in under 3 hours was by no means easy. Traffic on this particular night was unusually high, forcing me to take alternate routes along unfamiliar back roads. My GPS led me deep into the rural heartlands of central Pennsylvania, where paved roads, cities, and McDonald's drive-thrus didn't always exist. This was the part of PA where horse-drawn carriages and pickup trucks emblazoned with Confederate flags were all the rage. Why Nicole demanded I meet her out here in Bumble F nowhere would become clear very soon. She had given me exactly 3 hours, not a minute more. Under normal conditions, 2 hours and 54 minutes is how long it might have taken an average person to make the drive. To my credit, I did it in 2.5. That was because I drove like hell, pushing the pedal to the metal the entire way. My speedometer never fell below 80, except when I had to stop at red lights and stop signs, or when I once slowed down because my GPS warned of speed traps in the area. It was a miracle I didn't cause a crash or get pulled over. Maybe I just had luck on my side that night, which was good, because honestly, I needed all the luck I could get if I had any hope of ever seeing another sunrise. My gas tank was almost on E by the time I arrived at my destination. A dark, desolate, and unlit dirt road flanked by towering cornfields on either side. The corn plants were about 8 feet tall, so tall and vast, one could easily get lost if they happened to stumble blindly through it all. "You have reached your destination," my GPS said. With no buildings or houses in sight, and nothing but a vast cornfield surrounding me, I wondered if I had somehow taken a wrong turn somewhere. This couldn't be the place, could it? I mean, there was nothing here. My only option was to continue driving straight, hoping the road would lead somewhere. Easing down on the pedal, I maneuvered my car deeper and deeper into the cornfield, nervously fielding every bump and pothole the unpaved road threw at me. In the darkness of the 1 a.m. night, my headlights served as the only source of illumination in the pitch blackness. It definitely made for a creepy setting. My uncertain journey took a promising turn when the road at last spilled out into the flat and wide expanse of what might have been a farm. A large red barn, grain silos, animal stables, and a small 2-story house occupied a large plot of land stretching some 200+ acres. To be honest, though, the property looked very run down. The barn was dilapidated, with a portion of the roof caved in. The yard was unkempt and overgrown with shrubbery. The animal stables sat in sorry states of disrepair, as if they hadn't been used in years. Vines and weeds twisted up and down the exterior of the main house, choking the building in wild greenery. Windows were broken everywhere. This farm might have been something special in its heyday, but now it was nothing more than a decaying scrap heap. Was this the place Nicole wanted me to find? The uncertainty was quickly answered when my headlights danced across the bumper of a certain black car parked just up ahead. The vehicle was an older 2005 Toyota Camry, with dirty tires and tinted windows. I knew right away whose car that was. I had, of course, ridden shotgun in it several times, and had even made passionate love to a certain someone in the back seat more than a few times. It was Ava's car, or I guess more precisely, Nicole's car. She was here. This had to be the place after all. My pulse quickened in fear. Where exactly was Nicole, though? She certainly wasn't in the car. Was she hiding out in the cornfield right now, observing me with murderous fascination like Jason Voorhees? Or perhaps was she up in the barn somewhere, peering down at me through the scope of her AR-15? Was she inside the main house, perhaps torturing Javanni this very moment? As if on cue, my phone came to life. That I still got reception out here surprised me. The words "unknown caller" flashed on my caller ID. Fear tugged at my throat, adding to my rapidly building anxiety. I knew instantly who this was. And to be honest, I really didn't want to pick up the phone, but what choice did I have? Speaking bravely, I answered the call with, I'm here." My crazy ex-girlfriend chuckled on the other end of the line.
Woohoo! You're early, lover boy. What did you do? Run every red light from here to Allentown? I wasn't expecting you for another half hour. Glad you could make the party, Daniel.
Getting straight to the point, I asked, "Look, I did what you wanted. Now where's Javanni? Where's my daughter?" Nicole's reply came in the form of gunshots. I shrieked in terror and my entire windshield exploded into 100 pieces, peppering me with glass shards. I instinctively ducked low and put my car into reverse, backing up as fast as I could. I didn't get far before bullets tore into my wheel wells and shredded my 2 front tires, disabling my car's movements. What I didn't know then was that Nicole had me in her sights from the moment my car cleared the cornfield, shooting with an almost military-level precision from her hidden perch high up in the barn. She sent bullets strategically into my car as if to disable it. Oddly, she didn't seem to be aiming for me, though. Reduced to moving on 2 rims, my front-wheel drive Honda struggled to gain reverse traction. Ever determined to prevent my escape, Nicole targeted my engine compartment next. Bullets slapped into the hood of my car, severing my timing belt and a number of important fluid lines. All sorts of crazy warning lights flashed on my dashboard. Check engine, low tire pressure, check oil, etc. Then, without warning, my car suddenly died on me. I tried starting it back up, but the engine just wouldn't give. I was effectively stranded, and a dead man. Frightened, I cursed aloud, "Shit, shit, shit!" Nicole, who was still on the line with me, laughed at my struggles.
I hope you got insurance, Daniel. Sorry for fucking up your ride like that, but I didn't want you to leave the party prematurely. You leave when I say you can leave. Now get out and come into the main house! And no dilly-dallying, lover boy, or the next bullet is going straight into your eye. Chop chop, Daniel! Andale, andale!
The sense of terror I felt at that moment was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. It was a crippling, debilitating feeling of hopelessness I wouldn't wish on anyone. It legit felt like I was being led straight to the gallows. Somehow, some way though, I steeled myself against the fear and summoned enough courage to exit my bullet-riddled car. I briefly considered grabbing my AR-15 rifle from the trunk, but I quickly decided against it. Nicole was probably still watching me through her scope, and I knew she'd kill me on the spot if she saw me reaching for my rifle. My concealed Glock would have to do. You can do this, Dan, I told myself, bravely forcing my trembling legs towards the main house. I found the air outside to be quite stale. It was a weird smell. I can't really describe it. Now look, I'm no psychic by any stretch of the imagination, but the aura of the place just stank of misery and death. It felt like something bad happened on these grounds long ago. The larger question still loomed, though. What was so special about this place that made Nicole want to meet me here to begin with? Moving ever so cautiously, I pushed open the front door and entered the main house. Much like the outside, the inside of the house was in a bad state of disrepair. Black mold and vegetation covered sections of the once pristine walls. The wooden floor was rotting and completely broken in places. Rainwater leaked through holes in the ceiling and collected in puddles atop rusting countertops. On top of that, the place smelled like crap. There were, of course, no lights on inside, so I was reduced to using a pen light to illuminate the way. Neither Javanni, Nicole, or my baby daughter were anywhere in sight. Hello? I called out. Of course, I got no reply. No surprise there. I drew my gun and kept it pointed straight ahead, ready to pull the trigger at the first sight of my crazy ex. I made up my mind to shoot first and ask questions later. After all, this is Nicole we're talking about. I'm sure the cops would understand. Hello? Javanni? Again, no response. The floorboards creaked beneath my feet with every step. The floor felt very unstable, and I was concerned I might fall through if I wasn't careful. Hello? I again called out into the darkness. This time, I heard a faint reply.
Ah!
Came a woman's distraught moans. The sounds came from a particular room on the second floor. A nearby staircase led the way, inviting me to go upstairs and investigate. Oh, great, I thought. This whole scenario of me chasing after a distressed girl on the second floor of a dark and creepy house seemed eerily familiar. It got me thinking back to that time last year when Nicole first tried to kill me by luring me upstairs to her bedroom. Oh, here we go with this shit again, I thought to myself. Out loud, I muttered beneath my breath to no one in particular. Fool me once, shame on you, Dan. Fool me twice.
Shame on Nicole.
My crazy ex chimed in from behind, cutting me off. I swear to God I never even heard her coming. How she tiptoed across the creaky floor without making a sound is beyond me. Startled, I spun around fast and began leveling my Glock to meet her. Nicole, who was standing directly behind me with her AR-15, cracked me on the skull with the butt of her rifle before I could properly react. The blow rattled my brain. I instantly saw stars. Nicole didn't strike me hard enough to kill me, but the force immediately knocked me unconscious. As such, I collapsed to the floor in a heap. When I eventually came to again some time later, I found myself sitting in a chair with my hands bound behind my back. Blood clouded my eyes, and my head ached from the spot where Nicole had hit me. I groaned in misery. It hurt like hell. But that might have been a good thing, though, because the pain meant I was still alive, if barely. Someone called out to me frantically.
Daniel, are you all right? Can you hear me?
I struggled to raise my head. Through my hazy vision, I observed a battered and bruised Javanni in front of me. She was similarly sitting bound and restrained to a chair about 8 feet away, looking quite beat up and disheveled. Her clothes were torn and her face bore bleeding lacerations. Her left eye was also very swollen, taking on a purple hue. It was clear Nicole had tortured her at some point. I can't even imagine the hell she'd been through. Seeing Javanni like that pissed me the hell off. At the same time, though, I was happy to know she was still alive.
Daniel!
She called out to me again. I acknowledged her slowly. Javanni?
I'm here. Oh, thank God. I thought you were dead.
I shook my head vigorously and blinked my eyes in rapid succession, trying to clear away the fog. When the haze finally lifted, I took stock of my surroundings. Several lit candles provided me with enough light to make out where I was. From what I could tell, both me and Javanni were in what might have been a child's bedroom. This was the only room of the house that didn't appear to be suffering from advanced decay. It looked as if someone had performed regular upkeep. I noticed a small crib nearby, but there was no baby sleeping inside. To the right of me on a dresser stood a baby monitor, fresh formula bottles, and a new pack of diapers. To the right of me I observed a rocking chair and a stroller, as well as a changing table and a bed big enough for an adult to sleep in. Judging by the disheveled bedsheets, it appeared someone had slept in it recently. The only thing not in the room was Nicole, or my daughter. I did see an ominous-looking chainsaw leaning up against the closet door, though. That unsettled me a great deal. I regarded Javanni and asked, Where is she?
I don't know. She dragged you in here a few minutes ago, tied you up and left. I haven't seen her since.
After a bated breath, Javanni added nervously,
She's going to kill us, isn't she?
I didn't want to admit the truth, so I lied. We're gonna get out of here, I promise. I'll find a way. I couldn't tell if Javanni bought it or not. She merely lowered her head and broke down in grief.
She killed Bugsley. He tried to protect me, and she shot him in the face. Then she laughed like it was nothing.
Javanni's cries echoed. Sensing her deepening depression, I said, Hey, Javanni, look at me. She's gonna pay for everything, I promise. She won't get away with this. Barely a second after I said that, I heard the slow clacking of a woman's stilettos ascending up the stairs. The footsteps grew louder and louder with each passing second, filling both me and Javanni with dread.
Oh no, she's coming back.
A dark aura descended upon the room, chilling the air. Candles flickered. Moments later, a blonde demoness appeared at the doorway. We locked eyes. She smiled. My heart palpitated. This was the first time I had seen my crazy ex in person since that night several months ago, when she almost murdered me in her house. Nicole was still strikingly beautiful like I remembered, but her appearance had undergone a noticeable transformation. The first obvious change was her hair. Whereas Ava kept her hair long and curly, Nicole's was cut shoulder length and straightened. Also different, Nicole now sported a colorful tattoo atop her left breast, something Ava never had. It was an intricate design depicting a large, venomous black snake coiling itself around a thorny red rose. Something about the imagery of it spoke volumes. I imagine Nicole saw herself as the viper. The thorny rose might have represented previous bad relationships. Her strangling the rose might have been her way of killing the many boyfriends who she perceived had hurt Ava in the past, including me. Talk about life imitating art. But it wasn't just her hairstyle and new tattoo that were different. Nicole's makeup and clothing was also the polar opposites of Ava's. In contrast to the latter, Nicole wore darker eyeshadow, darker lipstick, and pointed black stiletto nails. Though she and Ava shared the same eyes, there was a certain look to Nicole's blue that just reeked of depravity. I really can't describe it. Interestingly, Nicole was dressed in a rather low-cut black leather catsuit and black stiletto boots. Her outfit kind of reminded me of the one Kate Beckinsale wore in the Underworld movies, if you've ever seen that. It was a sexy outfit for sure, but it did strike me as a bit unusual. Nicole's AR-15 rifle was slung securely behind her back. All the while a cute newborn suckled milk from an exposed breast. The baby was well nourished and well formed, indicating the child had been well taken care of. At least Nicole hadn't neglected her, thank God. My crazy ex looked at me, then Javanni, then at the bundle of life in her arms. Speaking to the infant with a sort of motherly tenderness I would not expect from a stone-cold killer, Nicole whispered,
"Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Auntie's gonna buy you a mockingbird. And if that mockingbird won't sing, Auntie's gonna buy you a diamond ring." My pulse quickened at the sight. I didn't know what to say, what to do, or how to react. All I could do was observe the situation helplessly and do my best to stay calm. "And if that diamond ring is brass, Auntie's gonna buy you a looking glass. Oh yes, she will. Auntie's gonna buy you anything you want, little Ava. Mwah, mwah."
Nicole angled my daughter's eyes towards me, as if to direct the baby's attention my way.
"See? Look, Ava. There's your rotten, good-for-nothing, cheating asshole of a father."
My brain flooded with a range of emotions. I locked eyes with my daughter for the first time. The baby was a spitting image of her mother, sporting Ava's blonde hair and blue irises, and hopefully none of the craziness. "Oh my God," I uttered. My baby daughter giggled at me. Nicole addressed the baby once more.
"See, Ava? Daddy hurt Mommy really bad. Daddy broke Mommy's heart. He made Mommy kill herself. Now Auntie is gonna make Daddy pay. Oh yes, she will. Auntie's gonna fuck Daddy up real bad. She's gonna make sure he never hurts another woman ever again."
Nicole's menacing gaze settled on me.
"Your daughter's very cute, Daniel. She's got your smile and sister's giggle. Take a good look at her, lover boy. Have a nice long look, 'cause this is the only time you'll ever see her."
My daughter made cute baby noises. I teared up. Nicole seized the baby's little hand and waved it at me.
"Say bye-bye to Daddy, Ava. Say bye, Daddy."
The baby was obviously too young to speak, but she nonetheless smiled at me. I fought back the tears as best I could. Nicole turned to leave.
"Time to go nap-nap, little Ava."
"Wait, where are you taking her?" I demanded as Nicole retreated from the room. "Nicole! Nicole! Where are you taking her?" Nicole absconded the room without answering, her footsteps fading as she disappeared into the darkened hallway. My daughter's laughter faded along with her. Javanni looked at me horrified and muttered,
You seriously had a baby with that psycho? What were you thinking?
Her bewilderment was completely understandable. Look, it's a long story, I replied, not knowing what else to say.
What'd she do? Hold a gun to your head? She's got insanity written all over her. Only a nut job would impregnate that.
Javanni was right. Despite all the warnings, despite all the red flags, I was stupid for dating Ava. Like I said, it's a long story, I replied again. A sense of deep remorse washed over me. Oh my God. I'm so sorry, Javanni. This is all my fault. I didn't mean for you to get dragged into all of this.
You can make it up to me by getting us the hell out of here. What's your plan, genius?
Look, I'm working on it. I yanked on my restraints, trying to break free. It felt as though my hands and feet were bound to the chair by rope, not handcuffs. Was that a good thing? Might it be easier to free myself from rope instead of metal handcuffs? And that's what I initially thought. I tried and tried and tried several times, but despite my damn hardest, I just could not loosen the ties that bound me.
It's no use, Daniel. Trust me. I already tried. You'll just end up cutting your wrist. Oh shit!
Javanni's oh crap was in response to Nicole's ominous footsteps returning. We both straightened to attention in our chairs, just as Nicole reappeared. This time, without a baby in tow. But she wasn't completely empty-handed. Nicole now had in her possession a large Bowie knife and what looked like a portable blowtorch. Not to mention, her AR-15 rifle still occupied real estate across her back. But where was my daughter? Where was the baby? Where is she? I asked fiercely. What'd you do with her? Nicole ignored my inquiry and walked over to the dresser, where she ignited the blowtorch. I shuddered, wondering what she was planning to do with it. Nicole, I said again. Nicole, where's my daughter? Ignoring me, Nicole began singing to herself.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic port aboard this tiny ship.
Wait, wasn't that the lyrics to Gilligan's Island? Nicole finally spoke to me.
Have you ever seen Gilligan's Island, Daniel? Maybe you haven't. It's an old-ass TV show from way before our time. It was Daddy's favorite show. He used to sing that song all the time. Even now, when I close my eyes, I can still hear him whistling it.
Nicole's tone deepened with resent.
Night after night, Daddy would watch an episode of Gilligan's Island, get piss drunk, and then sneak into this very room. Night after night, he'd take off his pants and crawl into Ava's bed, all while whistling that damn song. If you hadn't figured it out by now, Daniel, this is the house where Ava grew up in. She and I were born in here, not far from where you're sitting.
I was awed by the revelation. This was Ava's childhood home? Amazing. Now everything made sense.
As bad luck would have it, when Mommy was pushing us both out, Ava's umbilical cord got wrapped around my neck. I came out stillborn while Ava survived. Nature can be a real bitch. I've often wondered how things might have turned out had it been the other way around. What might have happened had my umbilical cord found its way around my sister's neck instead?
As she spoke, Nicole angled her Bowie knife in front of the blowtorch and heated the blade red hot.
Would Daddy have done those same nasty things to me too?
Nicole's Bowie knife glowed ever so brighter, ever so hotter, ever so intimidating.
Guess we'll never know. But I'd like to think I would have fought back.
At last, Nicole killed the blowtorch. The blade of her Bowie knife glowed a bright crimson, burning as hot as Darth Vader's lightsaber.
Ava was always weak. She lets men abuse her, but not me. See me? I would have taken a knife to Daddy's balls the minute he put his pedophilic hands on my shoulder.
I sweated rocks when my crazy ex turned to me and asked menacingly,
What do you think is an appropriate punishment for men who hurt women, Daniel?
I gulped. What? Nicole grinned and waved her red-hot blade in front of me.
You heard me, lover boy. I'll say it again. What is an appropriate punishment for men who hurt women? Is it death, prison, or castration?
Absolute horror contorted my features. Nicole snickered.
You should see the look on your face. Are you pooping your pants right now, Daniel? If not, you will be. Oh, there's about to be a whole lot of pooping pants up in here real soon.
What the hell did she mean by that? I really didn't want to find out.
That is the same look of fear Ava gave Daddy every time she heard him whistling Gilligan's Island. That is the same look she had on her face when you ended things with her, Daniel. And that is the same look she made the night you, Daniel, drove her to suicide. You were the love of her life. She thought about you like crazy and dreamt about you every single day. It was kind of annoying, really, hearing her drone on and on about how cute your eyes are. Hell, she loved you more than she loved me. And what did you do with her love, Daniel? You shattered it.
Nicole gave Javanni a disgusted frown.
And for what? That ugly-ass slut over there? I still don't know what you see in her.
Nicole gestured to herself, to her breasts in particular.
For fuck's sake, Daniel, look how tiny her tits are compared to these. What? Are these too big for you now? And here I thought you men loved a girl with big tits.
Nicole blew out a frustrated breath and said,
Whatever. You made your bed, lover boy. Now you're both going to die in it. But before I send you two off to cheater's hell, I'm going to do to you, Daniel, exactly what I would have done to my piece of shit pedophile father. You want to know what I think is the perfect punishment for men who hurt women? Here goes. It's option number 3. Ding, 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 ding. Castration.
My pupils widened with fear. Before I could say anything in my defense, Nicole pounced on me like a cougar. She forcefully tipped over my chair, knocking me flat on my back. Given my restrained state, I was like a helpless fly caught up in a spider's web. All I could do was scream when she proceeded to loosen my belt and lower my pants and underwear below my ankles. Her scorching hot blade hovered inches away from my most prized possession, so close I could practically feel the heat. I begged and pleaded for mercy. No, Nicole, don't! Look, I'm sorry for everything! Nicole's wild eyes were dead set on carrying out this inhumane atrocity.
Too late, Daniel. You killed sister. Now it's off with Mr. Jingles. Snip, snip.
Watching from afar, a horrified Javanni chimed in and screamed.
No! Oh my God!
But she could do nothing to help me. I squirmed like a worm on a hook, utterly terrified as Nicole positioned her knife for the severing strike.
This would be a lot easier if you would just hold still, lover boy. Don't worry, I've done this to several of Ava's exes. I'm the castration queen. Now this is gonna hurt like fucking hell, but you won't bleed out. Probably. Say bye-bye to Mr. Jingles, Daniel.
I closed my eyes, clenched my teeth, and awaited the excruciating pain that was sure to come. A second passed, then another, and another. Yet, the pain never came. Perplexed and confused, I dared to open my eyes again. What I saw absolutely baffled me. Nicole still hovered over me like a demon in the night, but something wasn't right with her. Her face was frozen in a mask of distress, and tears were flowing from her eyes. Her blade still lingered just millimeters away from you-know-where, trembling uncontrollably, as if something or someone was preventing her from hurting me.
Dan.
The voice that spoke to me originated from Nicole's indigo-colored lips, and yet it wasn't Nicole. This voice was softer, cuter, less sinister. Heavy remorse lingered in her tone. It was a voice full of regret. It was a voice I hadn't heard in months. It was Ava's voice. I immediately replied back, "Ava, is that you?" Trapped inside Nicole's facade, Ava struggled to speak to me.
Dan, she's too strong. I can't hold her much longer. Run!
Nicole's knife inexplicably moved away from my precious area and found a new target, my rope restraints. Seconds later, my hands and feet were free. I was absolutely floored by this unexpected turn of events. But I wasn't out of danger yet, not by a long shot. Ava again spoke to me through Nicole's lips. Her tone was urgent.
Run, Dan! Run!
She didn't have to tell me a third time. I quickly pulled up my pants and dashed over to help Javanni. Behind me, an enraged Nicole screamed,
No! This is my body now, Ava! My body!
That was the sound of Nicole banging her head against the wall like a crazy woman. Oh wait, what am I saying? She was crazy.
Get out of my head, Ava! Get out of my head! Get out of my head!
The ferocious head-banging got louder, fiercer. The wall cracked under the assault. While Nicole was busy doing that, I was working hard trying to free Javanni.
Please, hurry!
She begged me. Those were the last words Javanni ever spoke. A bullet whizzed past my head. The round nicked my ear, taking off a piece of flesh. I recoiled in pain and immediately clutched the side of my head, injured but lucky to still be alive. Javanni, unfortunately, wasn't so fortunate. That same bullet tore a path of devastation through her right cheek, taking off half her face and killing her instantly. She died in that chair, waiting for me to save her. "No, Javanni!" I screamed in horror. Another gunshot exploded from my rear, spurring me to run. As much as I wanted to grieve over Javanni, I knew I had to get the hell out of there quick or I'd be next. So I ran, and I didn't look back. I just ran. I ran like hell. I ran like my life depended on it. Which it did. A frustrated Nicole chased after me, hurling all manner of profanities.
Ugh! Fuck! Fuck! Come back here, you little shit!
I rounded a corner and began sprinting down the stairs faster than Usain Bolt could run a marathon.
Look at what you did, Ava! Now he's getting away!
As I descended to the first floor, I stole a gaze behind me and observed Nicole at the top of the stairs with her muzzle pointed down at me. Her eyes burned with rage. She was about to shoot me when Ava again took over and yelled,
No, Nicole! I won't let you kill him!
At the very last second, Nicole jerked her rifle off to the side, and the bullet that was originally intended for my head ended up impacting the wall instead. Infuriated, Nicole yelled,
God damn you, sister! Get out of my head! Get out of my head!
Nicole commenced to smashing her temple against the wall again, so hard blood began flowing from her forehead. The insanity of what I was witnessing cannot be adequately put into words. Nicole was having a full-blown meltdown. It was obvious to me what was happening. Ava was engaged in an all-out battle for control against her dark alter ego. It was the only explanation that made any sense. Anakin Skywalker, it seems, was trying to vanquish the evil that was Darth Vader. I wasn't about to stick around to see which personality was going to emerge on top. I just ran. The concerned dad in me wanted to find my baby daughter wherever she was, but I knew if I stopped, Nicole would kill me. As hard as it was to leave my baby daughter behind, I had to keep running for my own sake. Making it outside, I made a mad dash for my car. But then I remembered Nicole had shot out my tires and engine. My car was a no-go. The only other option was Nicole's Toyota Camry. Unfortunately, I didn't have the keys. Then, I remembered something else. Moving quickly, I popped open the trunk of my bullet-riddled car. Inside was a black duffel bag. I retrieved it just as Nicole, or was it Ava, appeared at the doorway of the main house. She was breathing heavily, and her face was bloodied and bruised. She looked pissed as hell.
You can't escape me, lover boy.
A bullet skimmed off my trunk, almost hitting me. Under fire, I fell to the ground and sought cover behind my car. What Nicole didn't know was that at that precise moment, I too was now armed with an assault rifle. Retrieving my gun from the duffel bag, I flicked off the safety and shot back. My return fire caught Nicole completely off guard. She yelled,
"Shit!"
and immediately took cover inside her house. I couldn't tell if I hit her or not. The lack of blood in the doorway didn't really give me much confidence. Nicole addressed me from inside the house, sounding more impressed than angry.
As I live and breathe! Since when do you own an AR-15, Daniel? You're becoming more like me every day. I've got to hand it to you, lover boy. You are full of surprises! I like that in a man.
Nicole pointed her barrel out the doorway and took a pot shot at me. She missed and laughed.
Well, this is certainly not how I imagined this party ending.
I'll tell you how this is going to end, Nicole, I yelled back from behind my car, readying my rifle. It's going to end with me putting a bullet in your head. Nicole giggled amusingly.
Oh, really? I had a different plan in mind until Sister ruined it.
Oh yeah? And what would that be, Nicole?
If you must know, lover boy, I was planning to cut off your balls and shove them down your whore girlfriend's throat. Then I was gonna douse the two of you with gasoline and burn you both straight to hell, along with this whole damn farm. Afterwards, me and my niece were going to drive off into the sunrise. The end. A perfect Disney conclusion.
I roared back. You're sick, Nicole retorted.
By the way, how is Javanni doing, Daniel? She was looking pretty fucked up last time I saw her. You did that to her, just so you know. Looks like Luke Skywalker doesn't save Princess Leia in this story.
I seethed over that insensitive comment.
So what now, lover boy? Are we gonna kiss and make up, baby? Or are we gonna shoot it out OK Corral style? Ooh, I know! I'll be Billy Clanton and you can be Doc Holliday. How good are you with that AR anyway?
I'm good enough, I replied, and took a pot shot. My bullet missed and shattered a window. Nicole didn't say anything in response, and she didn't shoot back either. Nicole? I called out. Nicole! No response. Sensing she was up to no good, I prepared for anything. A minute later, Nicole called out,
Daniel! Oh, Daniel! I have something that belongs to you, lover boy.
The cries of a baby shattered the eerie silence. I glanced over my car and saw Nicole at the doorway. She was holding the muzzle of a Glock pistol to my baby daughter's head. It was a horrifying thing to see.
Drop the gun, Daniel, and come out where I can see you, or I'll blow this little bitch's brains out.
My daughter's cries intensified. I freaked.
You've got till the count of 3. 1, 2...
Seeing no other option, I complied. All right, you win, Nicole. I'm coming out. Just don't hurt her. Dropping my rifle, I emerged from my cover with both hands raised high. Nicole smiled and motioned me forward.
That's it. Walk that cute ass over here slowly, lover boy.
My legs felt like jello. My feet didn't want to move. However, my daughter's crying incentivized me to keep walking. When I got close enough to the house, Nicole finally lowered her pistol away from my daughter, only to point it straight at me instead. An instant later, I was on the ground, writhing in agony from a bullet hole in my leg. Blood squirted from the injury. I applied pressure as best I could, trying not to bleed out. Nicole approached me steadily, clutching my baby daughter in one arm and a Glock pistol in the other. She still had her AR-15 rifle, but it was slung across her back. My crazy ex stood triumphantly over me and aimed her pistol at my head. She sneered cruelly.
Gotcha! God, you are so gullible. Come on, did you really think I was going to shoot my own niece, Daniel? Even I don't stoop to the level of killing babies. I'm actually shocked you think so little of me.
Defiantly, I groaned. Ugh, you go to hell, bitch. My snide remark made Nicole grin.
No, thank you. Been there, done that. Believe me, I have no plans of ever returning back to that shithole. I'm just not one for the tropics, get it? But I've got a first-class, one-way ticket straight to hell with your name on it, Daniel. And the train is departing the station right now.
Nicole sucked her teeth.
You know, I'm kind of disappointed to see you go, Daniel. You're not like the others. You actually made me work for a change. Congratulations! You deserve a Guinness World Record for being the most hard-to-kill boyfriend Ava has ever dated. I see why she got lady boners just thinking about you. But now the time has come for you and sister to break up for good, lover boy. Say hi to daddy for me when you see him. Bon voyage.
Her gun went off right in front of me, blinding me with its muzzle flash. My eardrums almost burst. Curiously, Nicole missed despite shooting at near point-blank range. For some odd reason, she had lurched the gun away at the last possible microsecond and sent her shot into the dirt. I was mystified. A familiar look of anguish suddenly appeared on Nicole's face, and she gritted her teeth in frustration. Her gun hand began shaking uncontrollably, as if she had Parkinson's. Nicole strained to speak.
No, let me go. Ava, he must die.
Then her tone changed completely. In a softer and grief-stricken voice, Ava said,
Dan, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't want any of this. I tried to stop her, but she's become too powerful. I can't control her anymore.
Nicole shouted.
Give me back the wheel, sister!
But Ava held firm. She lowered her Glock, then quickly aimed it at her own head.
Please take care of our daughter, Dan. Give her the happy childhood I never had. I love you both.
I shouted, No, Ava! The gun went off. A bullet pierced her skull, and she died. 6 years later, the horror of what I experienced that night continues to haunt me. Time and therapy may have healed the physical wounds, but the mental scars are such that I suffer from PTSD to this day. I guess one never truly recovers from that type of trauma. I attended both Javanni and Ava's funerals, though I was the only person present at Ava's. I don't know why I went to her funeral. I guess I just did so because maybe it was Stockholm Syndrome, I don't know. She had no family, no friends, no one who cared about her. Maybe if someone had given a crap about her, she might have turned out to be a different person. At the end of the day, I truly feel sorry for what happened to her. It would later come out that Ava, or rather Nicole, had been responsible for at least 13 separate homicides, and she was the prime suspect in many other unsolved cold cases stretching as far back as her teen years. She was what you might call a serial killer. Her victims were primarily unsuspecting boyfriends such as myself, guys who just had the unfortunate bad luck of crossing paths with her. Before I met Ava, I was an innocent and well-mannered nice guy who harbored aspirations of becoming a video game developer. Today, I work as a counselor helping domestic abuse victims. I don't want anyone to go through what I went through. That's why I work hard every day to bring justice to those suffering from relationship violence. Speaking of relationships, it took me a long time to ever date again. I was just so traumatized by Nicole that for 4 long years, I cut myself off to relationships entirely. No Plenty of Fish, no Match.com, no Tinder, no dating, nothing. But then I met Ashley, a fellow counselor. If Ava was the purest example of insanity, Ashley is the polar opposite. She is everything Ava was not. Loving, kind, generous, and most importantly, not crazy. Plus, Ashley hated the sight of guns. We hit it off pretty quickly. Now she's my wife. We're expecting our first child soon. As for the child I fathered with Ava, well, Samantha is doing quite well. I changed her name to that of my late mom because I just couldn't stand the thought of having another Ava in my life again. Samantha is 6 years old now, and she's quite the joyous child. I love her to death. She looks just like Ava too, minus the craziness. A couple nights ago, Samantha asked me about her mother.
Daddy, how did Mommy die?
Forced to reply, I simply said, Your mom died giving birth to you, Sam.
That's not what Nicole said, Daddy. She said, you made Mommy shoot herself.
My daughter's remarks scared the living shit out of me. I nearly had a stroke. In my horror, I muttered, Sam? Who's Nicole?
She's my dead auntie, Daddy. You can't see her, Daddy, but she's standing right behind you. She said she's going to kill you someday. Can we go to the park now, Daddy? Please?